Hey, my name is Rusty Korhonen and I've got a story for you. I went fishing with my grandpa Atu late one summer and we caught a really nice king salmon, a Chinook, as my grandfather called them, Chinook. So we took this really large fish back to the cabin and he pulled out this knife and started filleting the fish, and I had never seen that particular knife. So I asked him, I said, "Grandpa, where'd you get that puukko?" Puukko is Finnish word for knife. It was well worn, and it was obvious to me, even as a 10-year-old, that the blade had been sharpened many times. It was old. He looked at the knife and he twirled it in his hands, and it was very obvious he was intimate with this knife. And he said, "I let the air out of quite a few Russians with this puukko. Sit down, I tell you a story." It's windy and it's a little chilly, and as my grandfather used to say, north wind is cold no matter which direction it comes from. Well, he took the knife and he pointed and he said, "Sit down, I telling you story, don't ask me again." Well, my grandfather was a naval tugboat captain, and in the wintertime, as the army needed reinforcements, he fought as a sergeant, or kursantti, in the army. He was in charge of 60 men. They were ordered to hold the ice between an island and the mainland. This was one of the battles of the Winter War, actually one of the last battles of the Winter War. I believe this was the battle for the island of Tuppura. It's the westernmost area of the battle between Finland and Russia. This battle occurred on the islands on the eastern end of the Gulf of Finland. The whole area is east of the current Finnish-Russian border, and it's northwest of St. Petersburg. It's roughly 195 kilometers or 122 miles from Helsinki. In late February of 1940, the Russian army attacked across the frozen waters of the Gulf of Finland. This is on the far western edge of the entire Finnish military defense line. Keep this in mind, if Tuppura and Koivisto, that whole area, fell, the entire Finnish defense effort was in huge danger. My grandpa said the area was called Koivisto. He said that meaning birch forest in Finnish. Well, north of Koivisto is a peninsula that points northwest. It points towards the bay at the mouth of the Viilajoki River. And at the tip of that peninsula, there's an island called Tuppura. It's in the middle of the entrance to Viipuri Bay. That bay is now called Viborg Bay. I believe this battle occurred off the north edge of Tuppura Island, on the ice between the island and the bay that is just south of the Viilajoki River. The Russians, they come, he said. They keep coming and coming. It was big, bloody red line. They get closer and closer, and we shoot them down. They step over that and they keep coming. The line getting closer and closer, then everybody dead. I looked down for the loader, for my Lahti Selaranto, and he was dead. And I look around and everybody dead. One of my men yelled, "Atu, everybody dead, we go now." We go, but no skis. We know no time to find them. We have to go now. So we just go. And he stopped and he just shivered and shook himself back to reality and went back to filleting the fish. He said they couldn't find their skis and the snow was at least waist deep. He said they had to kind of swim through the snow, and they got used to moving as fast as they could, but he said it was slow and it was very tiring. They got away from the battle, but they couldn't find any Finnish army. He said, "Long time we swim through snow and we find wounded Finnish soldiers close to mainland." He said they found a dead Russian soldier with a big, really large coat, and they stripped him of that coat and made a sled out of it. And they put this wounded Finnish soldier on that makeshift sled. He said, "We pulled him through snow. We keep walking and swimming and pulling and walking." And he said it was very slow going. But sometime after dark, they came upon a barn that was full of Russians, They were pretty loud. They could hear them from a distance. And as they got closer, it seems like the Finnish soldier heard all the commotion and started screaming for help. And my grandfather and his friend couldn't quiet the Finnish soldier down, and they said finally they shake him, and he said that we had to threaten to kill him because we didn't want these Russians to hear us and kill us all. Well, finally the Finnish soldier quieted down, and they were able to get around this barn full of Russians. He said, whoa, okay, I just about broke my neck. He said that he didn't know how far they had trudged through the snow, but in the morning they came upon a Finnish military camp, and they put the wounded soldier with the medical folks, and they went up to the commanding officer, and the commanding officer looked at them both and said, oh my gosh, it's so good to have reinforcements. And they looked at each other and said, reinforcements? And he said, hey, you're two guys we didn't have just a few minutes ago. So they kind of laughed at that one. Beautiful day, isn't it? My grandpa said they gave him a pack and a pair of skis and told him to go find a tank that had blown up a truck full of wounded Finnish soldiers. So I grabbed pack, I grabbed skis, and I go. He told me he skied along this ridge above this frozen river in the direction where they said the tank had last been seen. He said, I come around the bend and there was tank driving up frozen riverbed. So I ski down ridge and I go to riverbed, I ski, tank moving slowly, so I catch up to tank. I took off my skis, I jabbed them into snow. I opened pack and there's 2 Molotov cocktails. He stopped and he cocked his head to me and he says, you know what Molotov cocktail is, Rusty Poika? And he explained to me that the Finns would take bottles and fill them with kerosene, and they would tie a grenade to them. It was great because the explosion caused the kerosene to catch fire, and it did a lot more damage than just the shrapnel of the grenade. He said, I pick up Molotov cocktail, I climbed the tank. He said, I knock on hatch, tink, tink, tink. And then his eyes got wide and he says, they open the door. I yelled to them, hey you Russians, here comes Molotov. I throw it down and I slam door. I jumped off tank into snowbank, and he said he heard the explosion of the Molotov cocktail and the kerosene, and he just heard a little boom. But that kerosene and the fire caused some of the ammunition to go off. He said, Rusty Poika, it sounded like popcorn. He said, then door open, here come Russians. He said, as they come out, I shoot them. He stopped and he said, boom! Tank exploded. It was so huge explosion. He said, I was sitting in lots of snow, and then boom comes, and I sitting in grass. All the snow melted because of that big explosion. He shrugged his shoulder. He says, tank was destroyed. I ski back to camp and tell them, hey, Russians have one less tank to use against us. Well, my grandpa was true to his word. He never spoke about the Winter War after that. I did receive my grandfather's Finnish military record from the Finnish National Archives, but the medals were not listed. Listed on the military record clearly is the area where he fought at Vilijoki and Tuupura. The only area I knew before that was Koivisto, and these are very difficult to find on Google Maps, although there are some fantastic resources available. So many people have posted some amazing stories. I actually found a first-hand account of the Battle of Tuupura, and some of the things that I'd pieced together are very, very similar to what my grandfather told me. I have a picture of my grandfather wearing these medals, and I have been able to confirm that they are the Winter War Medal, the Continuation War Medal, the Medal of Liberty, and the Naval Cross with a tank clasp. This story that my grandfather told me was just one battle. I don't know all the battles that he fought. I know that, from what he told me and the Naval Cross that he received, I know he blew up a tank. I'm trying to confirm this, but my father said as far as he knew, my grandfather was the only Finnish Navy man to blow up a tank. I'd love to confirm that, but I don't know where. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I have checked out all of the sites, Soltopolku and the Finnish National Archives and a bunch of other sites. There are some fantastic resources out there, and if you're looking for some information on the Winter War, if you're doing research on a family member or a friend, or you're just interested in it, please check out the resources I've put down below, and if you have any other suggestions, let me know. Thanks for watching. And if you like this story, please hit the like button and hit subscribe. My name is Rusty Korhonen, and hope you enjoyed my story.